Okay, our second lesson today is solving for an unknown side. Now, there's a couple of things. You can use the trig ratios, but you can also, if you prefer it, if you have two sides, use Pythagorean, right? A good old Pythagorean. Okay? But if we have a side and an angle, use SOH CAH TOA. Okay? So, let's go through some steps using SOH CAH TOA. We know how to use Pythagorean. We did that last unit. And if you need a refresher, feel free to ask me questions when it's work time. But you can use Pythagoreans if you have two sides. But if we have a side and an angle, we only have one side and then we have one angle, we can use SOH CAH TOA to find an unknown side. So step one, you're going to label. Label your triangle with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Oops, I'm missing my Y. My Y. Okay. Step two, let's mix it up. Circle the side you know and the side you want to know. Okay? Choose the correct trig ratio. If you've labeled it right, you should be able to figure it out. So it's sine, it's not cis, it's sine, cos, or tan. And don't you forget SOH CAH TOA. Okay? And then solve the equation using cross multiply. So you're saying, oh, right, miss. Yeah, I got that. Now let's do some examples, right? So doing our steps. Step one, we're going to label. We always label from the angle we've been given. From that angle, we know this is the hypotenuse, this is adjacent, and this is opposite. Okay? We're going to circle the side we know and the one we're looking for. So we know the hypotenuse, 17, and we're looking for x, the adjacent. Okay? That's step number 2. So now we have to use the right ratio. SOH CAH TOA. Well, we've got adjacent and hypotenuse, so that means that we want to use cos because it's got an adjacent and hypotenuse. So let's see what we have. That means cos of the angle, we use this sign for our angle, is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Put in what we know. The angle is 18 degrees. And our adjacent is x. And our hypotenuse is 17. Yes. Yes. Now, we know how to find cos of 18. We use our calculator to get that ratio. So we're going to put that ratio in our calculator. So cos 18 degrees. On a scientific, you hit 18 and then hit cos. On a graphing, you do the opposite cos 18 degrees and hit enter. And you're going to get 0.951 is equal to x over 17. Now we can pretend this is over 1. Anything can be over 1. And then we're going to cross multiply and solve. Okay? We're going to be cross multiplying and dividing by 1. So that is going to get us x is equal to 0.951 times 17 divided by 1. So x will equal, what do I got for answers? What do I got for answers? You got it? 0.951 times 17 equals 16.167. Now, it doesn't say what to round it to. I can leave it at that. Normally we'd get rounded to a certain decimal place, but that'll do. Okay? And if it's a multiple choice, you'll be able to round it. Okay? So let's try a couple more. So let's follow those steps. Label, circle, choose, and solve. So let's see what we're going to do here. So first we'll label from our degree. We know that this is the hypotenuse because it's across from the square, the right angle. This is my adjacent, and this is my opposite because this is right next door and that's across. So I've labeled. Now I'm going to circle. I have my hypotenuse and I'm looking for my opposite. So think about it. SOH CAH TOA. I've got opposite and hypotenuse, so I'm going to use sine. So sine of my degree is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 57 degrees is equal to y over 15. And remember, we can write, first we're going to find our ratio. Okay, so, sine of 57, find that on your calculator. You're going to get 0.8387 is equal to y over 15. Remember, we can write this over 1. And then we're just going to cross multiply and divide. Okay, so let's write that out. So y will equal 0.8387 times 15 divided by 1. So y equals, we'll do that with our calculator, 12.58, and then I got a couple of zeros. So we can leave it at that. Okay? Alrighty. So this will be a good point for you guys to try this one. Pause your video. When you're done, come back, see if you got it right. Remember the steps. Label, circle, choose, solve. Okay? So I'm going to assume you're back. So we're looking from this angle. Here's my hypotenuse. And it says solve for side BC. So that's this side here, which is adjacent. And this one is opposite because it's across, right? So I've labeled. I'm going to circle. And thinking about my functions, or my ratios, functions, what am I talking about? I've got opposite and adjacent, so it's going to be tan. So let's try that out. So tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. So tan of 52 degrees is equal to 12 over x, because I called it x. Now, let's find our ratio. So tan of 52 equals 1.2799, okay, equals 12 over x. And remember, we can put this over 1. Now, when we cross multiply and divide these, we're going to cross multiply and divide. So it's a little different than the other ones, but we're still going to do it. So we get x is equal to 12 times 1 divided by 1.2799. So you're going saying, Miss, why did you have us try the one that was so different? Well, 12 times 1 is 12, and then we divide by 1.2799, and we get x is equal to 9.3757. That'll do for decimal places, because for safety, right? Okay, but it is that cross multiplying and dividing that we did last unit. The big thing is to follow the procedure in setting it up. So now we have some practice, and we've got some practice doing some triangles, yes. And there's also some word problem ones. So I want you to give those a try and actually draw a picture. So let's do one just so that you can see what I mean. So it says draw a diagram to represent the situation. Always helps to draw a diagram. So it's a ladder is placed against a wall, forming an angle of 63 degrees. So let's draw our wall. So there's our wall. And then we have a ladder angled against the wall. Okay? And it forms an angle with the wall of 63 degrees. So it's going to be 63 degrees in here. It says the foot of the ladder is 3.7 feet away from the wall, and it wants to know how long the ladder is. So now I have my triangle. I can follow those same steps. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that I've got my picture, is I'm going to label. So this will be our square angle. So this would be our hypotenuse. This would be opposite. So that means this is adjacent. From those, I have my opposite, and I'm looking for my hypotenuse. So think about your SOH CAH TOA. And let's see which one we're using. We've got opposite and hypotenuse, so we're using sine. Okay? So sine of your angle is equal to the opposite over hypotenuse. So let's put that, what we know in. Sine of 63 degrees equals 3.7 over x. Figure out what sine of 63 is. So sine of 63 equals 0.8910 equals 3.7x. Now remember, we can write this one over 1. You can write anything over 1. So let's think about our cross multiplying and divide. So we're going to multiply there and divide by that. So what happens? We write x equals 3.7 times 1 divided by 0.8910. Well, 3.7 times 1 is 3.7. So then we divide by 0.8910. And we get x equals 4.1526. Alrighty? So don't let word problems scare you. Just try them out and draw the picture. The hard part is drawing the picture once you